he allegedly had been wearing a wire for the last 2 years.
From 22 to 24.
Yeah, well, prosecutors state that these transactions and the informant's recordings played key roles in linking Lil Durk to the murder-for-hire plan. There's a guy named OTF Jam.
Whack 100 wasn't lying. F Jam really did snitch on Lil Durk, but now the consequences are deadly. Reports claim Jam was just killed, and it may have been a direct response to his betrayal. And if that's not wild enough, this could shift Lil Durk's entire legal case. Let's break it all down from day one to dry snitching. Picture this, looking at a dude who did a whole 12-year bid without saying a word. Came home to his day one showing mad love, got blessed with bread and respect. Allegedly, turned around and became a walking wire for the feds. That's not just foul, that's the type of move that gets your whole bloodline marked for life in certain neighborhoods. But before we dive into how Jam real name Casey Hester became the most hated man in Chicago drill scene, we got to understand the ecosystem that bred this level of treachery. We're talking about a world where your word is bond, where keeping it 100 means everything, and where the worst thing you can be called is a snitch. Back in 2010, while most cats were just trying to figure out how to get their first whip or maybe score some decent work, Jam was already deep in the trenches. The man caught an attempted murder case and got sentenced to 12 years in the pen now. In the hood, that's the type of charge that separates the real ones from the fake ones real quick. Most dudes would have been singing like they're auditioning for The Voice just to get that time cut down. But here's where the story gets deep. Cruisin' drill music, F Only the Family got started by Durk in 2010. Right around the same time Jam was catching his case. Started as just some homies from the block making music together, eventually evolved into something much more complex. This wasn't just a record label or a rap crew. Prosecutors would later call it a hybrid organization that operated like a legitimate business on the surface, but had serious street credentials underneath the connection between F and the Black Disciples. Wasn't no secret in the streets. This wasn't some suburban kids pretending to be hard for the cameras. These were real street dudes who had been putting in work since they were shorty. The drill music they were making wasn't just entertainment. It was basically audio documentation of real beef, real bodies, and real consequences. During those 12 long years, Jam was doing his bid. Something beautiful and dangerous was happening on the outside. Durk was blowing up. Drill music was becoming a worldwide phenomenon, and F was right at the center of it all. Songs about sliding on ops, catching bodies, and keeping it real weren't just bars. They were straight up confessions set to 8,008s and hi-hats. Jam finally touched down in February 2022. The whole landscape had changed. Young dude who started F while Jam was getting booked was now a major player in the rap game. Durk had achieved what most cats from their environment could only dream about. He had gone mainstream without losing his street credibility. But success in the streets always comes with a price tag that keeps getting higher. The same activities that inspired Durk's hardest bars, the same conflicts that built reputation were still active when King Von got killed in November 2020. It left a wound in the crew that demanded some serious get back. In the code they live by, some debts could only be paid in blood. This is where Jam's story intersects with what would become one of the most high-profile federal cases in hip-hop history. When he got released in 2022, Jam wasn't just another ex-con trying to get his life together. He got brought into circle, blessed with financial support, and treated like family by Durk himself. This wasn't charity, work. This was brotherhood looking out for brotherhood. At least that's how it looked from the outside.
He said, Jam get out that jam and give him 50, he ain't gotta ask again, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? He ain't gotta ask, bro. He said he gave you 50, bro. You know what I'm saying? Can you tell us how much he gave you, or you don't want to even know?
No, we ain't gotta give him all that, but bro made sure he made a way for me to be straight, like he's saying that I asked again, you know, like shit. Crib, cop.
Durk allegedly blessed Jam with over $50,000, got him a crib, got him a whip, and even covered his legal fees. For someone who just did more than a decade in the pen, this type of love must have felt like hitting the lottery. This wasn't just looking out for your mans. This was investing in loyalty, showing the type of brotherhood that F was supposed to represent. But allegedly, something else was happening during this whole time, something that nobody in F's circle could have imagined. According to federal investigators, Jam had been wired up for years, recording conversations. and collecting evidence like he was working on a documentary. If these allegations are facts, then every conversation, every moment of trust, every demonstration of love was being recorded and handed over to the same feds who were building a RICO case. The implications of this alleged betrayal go way deeper than just one person deciding to cooperate with. 12. We're talking about someone who got brought into the most sacred circles of the crew, who was trusted with sensitive information, who got treated like blood, allegedly using that trust to build a federal case that would eventually lead to Lil Durk getting hemmed up on murder for hire charges on October 24th, 2024.
That was wired.
Very ironic name.
Jam
Now
got
he
him
put
in a
everyone in a
jam.
jam.
Did 12 years.
12
got
years.
out, interviewed, said he kept it real, brought him cars, gave him 50,000.
Right.
This.
In the hood, there's unwritten laws that govern everything. There's codes of conduct, systems of justice, and methods of enforcement that don't require no judge or jury. Being labeled a rat is basically getting a death sentence that ain't carried out by the state. It's carried out by your own people, by the same ones who used to show you love. The fact that these allegations against Jam have gone public means that regardless of whether they're true or not, his life is probably already forfeit. In the eyes of cats who live by the street code, that's the harsh reality of the world they all chose to be part of. The trap gets exposed and bodies start dropping. The fall of 2024 was about to become the most devastating season in, but the groundwork for this destruction had been planted way earlier, watered with real blood and fertilized by a thirst for revenge that would end up consuming everything in its path. What went down next reads like some Hollywood crime drama, except the consequences were all too real, and the bodies that dropped weren't actors getting back up when the director yelled cut. To really understand the magnitude of what allegedly went down, we need to break down the events that led to the August 2022 shooting in LA that took out Sava Lulpab Robinson, who was Quando Rondo's cousin. This wasn't no random street violence or some robbery gone sideways. According to the feds, this was a carefully orchestrated hit that went completely wrong, taking out an innocent person while the intended target walked away, breathing. Motivation for this alleged plot traces back to November 2020 when King Von got killed in Atlanta during a confrontation with Quando Rondo's people. Von wasn't just another rapper to the F family. He was blood. He was a brother. He was the type of loyal soldier that every crew needs. His death created a debt that in their world could only be settled with somebody else's life.
Still, this is a hereditary war that's gonna go on forever. People that love Von, even fans, I ain't even talking about his real loved ones, just fans. People gonna have a problem with them forever.
But here's where the story takes a dark turn that shows just how deep the alleged betrayal really went. If Jam was really walking around with a wire like the feds claimed, then he wasn't just some passive observer watching from the sidelines. Was actively documenting the planning, the execution, and the aftermath of what prosecutors would later call a murder for hire conspiracy. The level of access that Jam allegedly had is absolutely wild when you consider what it means. Court documents suggest that an informant provided recordings and details of F credit cards being used to book flights on the same day as the alleged attempt on WW Quando Rondo's life. This wasn't some dude operating on the outside looking in. This was someone with VIP access to how the whole operation worked. Someone who knew about the money, moves, the travel plans, and the strategic discussion.
To the indictment, multiple individuals tied to OTF coordinated the plot and discussed payments after the alleged attempt on Quando's life. The plan allegedly involved offering music industry opportunities and cash rewards in exchange for the killing of Quando.
The sophistication of this alleged operation is what makes it so devastating for everyone involved. The 5F members who eventually got arrested, Kayvon London, Brant, DeAndre Dantrell, Wilson, Keith Jones, David Bryan Lindsay, and Asa Houston weren't just random associates or hangers. On these were core members of the organization Cats who had been trusted with the most sensitive aspects of F's business. But the most shocking revelation comes when you understand the timeline. Jam had allegedly been walking around with federal recording equipment for years, starting almost immediately after he got out the pen in February 2022. That means virtually every conversation he had with F members during this period was potentially being recorded and analyzed by federal agents who were building a case.
From 22 to 24.
Yeah.
So he immediately got caught up.
The psychological manipulation required to maintain this type of deception for years is beyond comprehension. Think about what this really means. while Durk was blessing him with money, while members were treating him like family while he was participating. In the most intimate conversations about strategy, revenge, and survival, Jam was allegedly recording everything and turning it over to the same federal agents who were building cases to destroy the lives of everyone who trusted him, the evidence that federal investigators allegedly collected through this operation is extensive and damaging. Prosecutors claim they have recordings of discussions about payments, evidence of financial transactions, and detailed knowledge of the planning and execution of the alleged murder for hire plot. This isn't circumstantial evidence or hearsay. If these allegations are true, this represents a comprehensive documentation of criminal activity over multiple years. But perhaps the most damaging aspect of this alleged betrayal is how it strikes at the very heart of what claimed to represent. The organization wasn't just a business or some casual association. It was supposed to be a family bound together by shared experiences, mutual loyalty, and a code that prioritized solidarity above everything else. What Jam allegedly did represents a fundamental violation of everything that held the crew together.
How would they know that music contracts was offered? Who would have to tell them that?
Well, prosecutors state that these transactions and the informant's recordings played key roles in linking Lil Durk to the murder for hire plan. There's a guy named OTF Jam.
The reaction within F to these revelations has been complex and revealing. While some members continue to express disbelief and defend Jam, others have completely distanced themselves from him. The crew is split between those who refuse to believe that someone they trusted could be capable of such betrayal, and those who see the writing on the wall and are trying to protect themselves from further damage. The footage of Jam eating McDonald's during what appears to be a federal interrogation has become the ultimate symbol of this alleged betrayal, getting shared all over social media and turned into memes that clown what many see as the ultimate act of disloyalty. The image of someone casually munching on fast food while potentially destroying the lives of people who considered him family has struck a nerve in communities that value loyalty above almost everything else. But the implications of this alleged betrayal extend far beyond just or even the hip-hop community. If these allegations prove to be true, they represent a new level of sophistication in federal law enforcement's approach to dismantling what they perceive as criminal organizations. This isn't just about arresting individuals for specific crimes. This is about using long-term infiltration and systematic documentation to build comprehensive cases that can bring down entire organizations.
OTF Jam did 12 years for attempted murder back, I guess around 2010. He got out in 2022, right around the same time of the Quando situation. And he allegedly had been wearing a wire for the last 2 years.
The strategic nature of this operation suggests that federal investigators had been planning this for years, carefully positioning their alleged asset and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The timing of the arrests, the coordination between multiple agencies, and the comprehensive nature of the charges all point to a level of planning and preparation that goes far beyond what most people expect from law enforcement operations. As news of these allegations spread through the hip-hop community and beyond, the response has been a mixture of shock, disbelief, and anger. Many are questioning how someone could maintain such a deception for so long, while others are wondering what this means for the future of organizations like FWEN. Keeping it real goes federal, and the game gets permanent. The final chapter of this saga isn't just about what allegedly happened to Jam. It's about the complete breakdown of trust, the deadly consequences of betrayal, and the devastating impact federal infiltration can have on communities that live by codes of loyalty and silence. What emerges from the wreckage of this alleged betrayal is a cautionary tale about the price of revenge, the power of federal law enforcement, and how trying to live by street rules in a world governed by federal statutes is a losing game from the jump. But before we examine the alleged consequences of Jam's actions, we need to understand just how devastating these revelations have been for those who trusted him with their lives. On December 17th, 2024, Jam finally broke his silence via Instagram stories, trying to defend himself against the mounting allegation. His statement read, "When the discovery comes out, you're going to see I'm not how the feds got onto us or built their case. I'ma let the paperwork come out because it's gone, tell it all." This denial, however, came way too late to repair the damage that had already been done to his reputation, and more importantly, to his safety. In the world that operated in just being accused of being a federal informant is often enough to get you a permanent dirt nap, regardless of whether the accusations are ultimately proven true or false.
I know Jim personally.
Oh, really?
Like,
Okay.
personally. So My mom's side, that St. Like Evans, St. Lawrence, all that shit, Evans Mob, his squad, like that, where Jam is from, he would be considered my op, but he's not because of my other people type shit, because he's from 79th from Vernon.
The streets operate under their own judicial system, and that system doesn't require the same burden of proof that you'll find in federal courtrooms. In communities where your reputation is everything and trust is the only currency that really matters, being labeled as a snitch or an informant is equivalent to receiving a death sentence that won't be carried out by the state. It'll be handled by former friends' associates, and even complete strangers who see such betrayal as an attack on the fundamental principles that govern their world. The concern for Jam's safety has been expressed repeatedly in online discussions, with many Reddit users questioning what would happen to him if he showed his face in Chicago again. The consensus among those who understand street politics is grim. Regardless of his guilt or innocence, the allegations alone have likely made him a marked man. But the story takes an even darker turn when we examine the additional allegations that have emerged from this situation. Rumors have circulated that Lil Durk ordered the killing of FF Jam's baby mother as payback for the alleged snitching. While these claims remain unsubstantiated and should be treated with appropriate skepticism, their very existence demonstrates the level of violence and retribution that can result from allegations of cooperation with law enforcement.
They're telling me he was actually in Los Angeles.
Oh, really? You're saying
telling
OTF
me
Jam was in LA?
He got caught with a switch, and they're telling me he's kind of the one saying the 50 I got paid was for that. But it's weak because that was to the world, he just was blessing me.
The complexity of this situation is further complicated by the fact that many people who knew Jam personally find it extremely difficult to believe that he would cooperate with federal authorities. His reputation as someone who had done serious time without breaking, combined with his apparent commitment to street codes and principles, made the allegations seem almost impossible to those who had known him for years.
Jam, I don't think Jam, if Jam was gonna snitch, he'd have been snitched on a lot of shit a long time ago. Jam's done a lot of time in jail. Like Jam, real nigga.
This disbelief, however, may have been exactly what made Jam such an effective alleged informant. Federal law enforcement agencies have become increasingly sophisticated in their approach to infiltrating criminal organizations, often targeting individuals who seem least likely to cooperate precisely because their reputation for loyalty makes them above suspicion. The broader implications of this case extend far beyond just or even the hip-hop community. The use of long-term informants, sophisticated surveillance techniques, and comprehensive financial tracking represents a new level of federal law enforcement, capabilities that can penetrate even the most closed and loyal organization.
You give your statement and you agree to cooperate, you're getting on that goddamn stand and you're saying exactly what you wrote down, or else you're gonna do life in prison.
The psychological toll of living under such circumstances, knowing that anyone around you could potentially be recording your conversations and documenting your activities, is something that most people can't even fathom. The paranoia, the constant vigilance, and the erosion of trust that results from such operations can destroy communities and relationships in ways that extend far beyond the immediate targets of investigation. Now, regarding the title's reference to Jam being smoked on camera, it's crucial to address this directly and factually. Despite viral rumors in November 2024 claiming that Jam had been killed, these reports have been thoroughly debunked. The video that went viral showing what appeared to be a fatal shooting actually showed the death of CJ, a 16-year-old drill rapper from New York who was killed on October 24, 2024. As of May 23, 2025, there are no credible reports or evidence suggesting that Jam has been killed, and thus no death investigation is underway. The spread of these false rumors demonstrates how quickly misinformation can spread in the digital age, particularly when it involves high-profile controversies and allegations. However, the fact that such rumors spread so quickly and were believed by so many people speaks to the expectations surrounding the fate of alleged informants in street communities. The assumption that Jam would eventually face violent retaliation for his alleged cooperation reflects the harsh realities of the world in which these events are taking place. The ongoing legal proceedings continue to unfold, with Lil Durk's trial pushed back to October 14, 2025. Delay has been attributed to new evidence and plea deal developments suggesting that the case continues to evolve as federal investigators build their prosecution.
This whole case will stem on people cooperating. If they can get people to say, Durk put us up to this, and their stories are consistent, then Durk is cooked. If their story starts being flip-floppy, this person's version of the story is different than this person's version of the story, Drew Finley will tear him apart on stage.
The impact on F as an organization has been absolutely devastating, with the arrest of multiple core members and the ongoing legal battles threatening to destroy everything that Lil Durk had built over more than a decade. The use of the organization's own financial records, communications, and internal relationships as evidence against them represents a complete inversion of the loyalty and trust that had held the group together. Family members of those involved have attempted to defend their loved one, with Lil Durk's family releasing statements criticizing the use of his lyrics as evidence, and Jam's family denying the snitching allegations. These public defenses highlight the human cost of these legal proceedings and the way they impact not just the individuals directly involved, but their entire support network. Whether Jam is ultimately proven to be the informant that prosecutors claim, or whether he's an innocent man caught up in federal overreach, his story has already become a cautionary tale about the price of living by codes that federal law enforcement has learned to exploit and manipulate. The final lesson from this tragic saga may be that in a world where the federal government has unlimited resources, sophisticated technology, and the willingness to use long-term infiltration tactics, the old codes of loyalty and silence may no longer provide the protection they once did. The streets may have their own rules, but federal prosecutors play by a completely different set of rules, and they usually come out on top. In the end, this story serves as a reminder that when you're playing street games with federal consequences, the house always wins, and the price of admission might be higher than anyone is prepared to pay. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.